Good evening and calling the meeting to order. Welcome to the West Hartford Public Schools regular Board of Education meeting. It is Tuesday, May the 6th, 2025. Charlotte, may you please call the roll?
Mr. Gagnon.
Here.
Mr. Goldman.
Here.
Dr. Harris.
Here.
Ms. Miramon.
Excused.
Mrs. Nezzarella.
Present.
Dr. Thomas Farquharson.
Here.
Mrs. Yagaloff.
Present.
Student Representative Sarah Granquist.
Here.
And Student Representative Alexis Nguyen.
Here.
Thank you. And Alexis, may you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do not have a revision to the agenda order. Now we shall proceed to Superintendent's presentation, where we shall have presentation of the finalists for the West Hartford Board of Education Teacher of the Year. Passing it to you, Mr. Vicinas.
Thank you very much. And this is always one of my absolute favorite days of the year. During my favorite week of the year is Teacher Appreciation Week. And today is National Teacher Appreciation Day, and I can think of no better day to honor our 2025 Teacher of the Year finalists. And before I do so, I just want to provide my absolute genuine gratitude to the Teacher of the Year committee led by Gert. Where's Gert? Here, oh, it's way in the back, hiding in the back. Michelle Hedlock, Tom Ledvorowski, who year after year volunteer their time and dedicate themselves to really uncovering the absolute brightest, best superstars to represent a district of exceptional teachers, and they've certainly done so this year. This is an entirely teacher-led program, and I just get asked to provide the recognition, which I am so proud to do. So without further ado, I'm going to start off. I'm going to, let me announce each of our Teacher Year finalists, who they are and where they're from, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of them. And then we have a small token from the Board of Education. We'll ask you to come forward to accept a token from us. But very proud for the following three in alphabetical order. No spoilers. Danielle Drozd of King Philip Middle School. Christina Fadolfi of Charter Oak International Academy. And Erica Graff, also of King Philip Middle School. So let me begin with Danielle. Danielle is completing her 28th year in education, her 12th year here in the district, where she has served with absolute distinction as a middle school mathematics teacher. She's a graduate of St. Joseph's University in West Hartford, where she earned her Master of Arts in Education with a concentration in middle school mathematics. She attended the University of Connecticut, where she earned her bachelor's, and she was certified in middle school mathematics through a professional program at Quinnipiac University. Danielle is extremely active in her school and district. She's a team leader, providing leadership and support to her colleagues, which I believe she's done for 9 years. She has served on the School Improvement Committee as well as the Professional Learning and Evaluation Committee, helping to lead and achieve organizational and systemic improvement at the building and district levels. She's engaged in the school community, serving multiple years as a school store advisor, keeping that entirely student-led, ping pong club advisor, stock market game advisor, and as a Brownie and Girl Scout troop leader in her community. She volunteers her time for organizations such as the King Philip PTO, the Newington Board of Education, Newington Little League, and the Lions Club. Danielle's colleagues remarked about her loyalty and her friendliness, her fierce advocacy for students, her incredible support for colleagues, no matter how big or how small the ask. Pretty sure there's some stories about squashing bugs in Hera's classroom. Her love for bus duty, of all things, because she gets to start and end her day with students. And I'm told that walking the halls with Ms. Drozd is like walking with a celebrity. Every student she teaches is excited to shout out a hello. And it says here, and I'm not sure what this means, she's more popular than John Sikowski. I'm unclear on that reference. She somehow balances a passion for Patriots football with a love for the Yankees. She always has a new, different car, citing that she likes to change it up. In fact, the West Hartford police have taken notice, given that she parks in the same spot every day. But she seems willing to stand up to that scrutiny. Her principal noted she is passionate about student learning and understanding math and does the work to make sure that it happens using strategies to make it stick. She cares deeply about students as learners and as citizens, and every kid feels it and knows it. And lastly, on the most important question, she's dunking over Starbucks, my kind of human being. Danielle, please come forward and accept this token. Secondly, Christina Fadolfi. Christina's resume boasts 31 years of teaching experience, having been with West Hartford Public Schools since 2015. She began in West Hartford as a special education teacher at Wolcott Elementary, transferring to Charter Oak shortly thereafter in 2017. In 2021, she transitioned from special education to general ed as an upper grades classroom teacher. She has developed and taught the International Baccalaureate Primary Years Program curriculum, and her background in special education and trauma-informed instruction make her an invaluable resource and an incredible teacher. She earned her master's in education from Lesley University and her Bachelor of Arts from Wesleyan. Christina demonstrates impact well beyond the classroom through a wealth of participation in leadership and professional development committees. She led the Positive School Climate Team that examined behavioral data and created systems to provide a set of tiered supports for students. She has taken on a leadership role as a union representative and served on elementary scheduling and new principal hiring committees. She has taken an active role in developing and leading school and district professional learning around zones of regulation, differentiation, and behavior expectations and interventions. Christina's colleagues remarked about her incredible sense of humor, her genuine connections with others, and her steadfast commitment to colleagues and friends. Her impact on students is powerful. She motivates by tapping into kids' interests and talents, as evidenced by her Genius Hour projects. Her principal noted she brings authenticity to everything she does, always speaking honestly and with a clear goal of helping the group to grow and thrive. She's given me a lot of that honest feedback myself. She's a fierce advocate for students, but especially those with greater needs, and above all, she's a connector. Whether hosting summer get-togethers, after-school socials, or early morning walks, and yes, I did clean those up, she brings people together and fosters a sense of community wherever she goes. Christina, please come forward to accept our gratitude. And thirdly, Erica Graff. Erica has 16 years of experience in secondary education, having begun her career as a high school English teacher. Early in her career, she altered course to follow a passion for school counseling, first as a director of high school and college programs, before landing at King Philip Middle School as a counselor in 2019. Eric is a graduate of Central Connecticut State University, earning her Master's of Science in Counselor Education and her Bachelor of Arts in Teaching and her teaching certification in secondary English from Eastern Connecticut State University. Erica is a presence at King Philip, wielding positive influence through her engagement in efforts such as team leader, crisis team member, and leader in residence for the school-based diversion initiative. She supports students beyond her role as a counselor through systemic efforts, such as King Philip Ambassador Student Leadership Program, and as club advisor to GSA and the King Philip Kindness Club. She is well respected by her peers and has been nominated for the Keeper of the Light for her exemplary practice, professionalism, and dedication to excellence. Erica's colleagues remark that she shines as a student advocate and an amazing teammate. She serves as a co-chair to the cheer committee and is always finding creative and uplifting ways to support staff morale, camaraderie, and fun in the building. During lunch waves, she creates a safe space for as many as 10 students who, in her office, who flock to her for her warmth, a feeling of safety and belonging. She is a leader in restorative practices and skillful in resolving difficult student relational issues with both caring and concern. Her principal commented that she's an outside-the-box thinker who is constantly innovating and in support of creative means to help children access their education. She consistently goes the extra mile through home visits, phone calls, and outreach between schools to support the mission of reaching every child every day. Everyone deserves a school counselor as dedicated as Erica. Please come forward and accept our gratitude. Those are our three finalists. I could not be more proud. And if we can offer one more round of applause for all three of them.
Indeed. Well, we're standing. Why are we standing? Very good reasons to stand, because we clearly see why you have been nominated. So for Danielle, Christina, and Erica, my, oh my, oh my. I was trying to keep track of the total number of years you shared, Mr. Vicinas, but well over 50 years of educational expertise the three of you collectively have. And we are so honored to have you in our district, and we are so blessed to have you feed into our children. So no matter who is named as Teacher of the Year, please know that all of you are winners to us all. Thank you so very much. One more round of applause, please. So we're going to transition into the business part of our board meeting, but we're going to take a brief pause to do so. Thank you once again. A brief pause.
Want my written comments?
All right, we shall resume. Thank you so much for your patience. And so with that, we now shall proceed to public communications. This is an opportunity for us to hear from you, your questions, your thoughts, your suggestions, your concerns. Each individual is allowed 3 minutes to speak. We ask when you come to the podium to please share your name and your town of residence. Please also be aware of Charlotte, who will hold up a yellow card when you have 1 minute remaining in your time. And when your time is expired, you will see a red card. We ask for you please to conclude your sentence and respectfully take your seat. Be aware that we are attentively listening. However, it is policy that we do not respond to comments as they are being made. And we are receiving comments on any topic item. We do have a list here, but there are no names on this list. I will ask anyone in the audience, anyone may care to make a public comment? All right, seeing none, we shall proceed with the meeting. Moving on to non-staff communications and reports. And this is where we're able to hear from our student representatives what's going on in their schools. So let us begin with Sarah sharing about Hall, please.
As usual, we have had a busy month at Hall filled with many student achievements and activities. Our spring sports are in full swing with practices, games, and meets every day. On Sunday, 2 Hall students were honored at the CIAC Scholar Athlete Banquet, Abby Sanderson and Fareed Aburabia. 4 students from Hall and Conard were also recently honored at the CIAC Unified Sports Banquet for their commitment to the Unified Sports Program. We also have a new school record. The Hall boys 2x4 relay set a new record time across all track seasons. On April 23rd, the National Honor Society hosted its induction ceremony for the class of 2026 members. This ceremony was led by the current NHS officers, and we had 143 new inductees. Last Wednesday, we hosted our World Language National Honor Society induction ceremony for students from the junior class who have demonstrated high achievement in a foreign language. Hall Latin students attended an event last week for Latin Day, and they came in first place in the upper level Certamen, which is a quiz bowl competition. Over in the arts department, Hall will be hosting our spring play, 12th night, this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m., as well as a 2 p.m. show on Saturday. As always, you can buy tickets at hallhightheater.ludus.com. We encourage everyone to support our performers and attend the show. The Spring Unified Theater shows were hosted at Conard last week, and we had a number of Hall students that participated in this program. Also in the theater department, the Sondheim Award Ceremony, which recognizes students, schools, and directors for their achievements, will take place on May 17th. Hall has multiple individual and group nominations for our fall play, The Addams Family. On May 18th, Hall and Conard Combined Select Orchestras, Celesti and Camerata, are hosting their spring showcase at St. James Church in the center. Admissions is free, and we encourage you all to attend and support West Hartford musicians. At Hall, we are currently celebrating Jewish American Heritage Month and Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month in our community lessons. We also have Senior Prom coming up on May 17th, as well as a Career Pathway Signing Day event at Town Hall, where we will celebrate students entering into internships or jobs post-graduation. One of our wellness classes, Health and Education in Urban Communities, which is also an ECE credit class, will be starting a free hygiene and food market at Hall. This project will provide free hygiene and food products to students in need. Last Monday, Hall celebrated Earth Day by hosting a fair during lunch waves. We had many clubs and town organizations who created booths that discussed topics relating to the environment, and from what I saw, this event was a big hit. And of course, it is the season of AP exams right now. We wish all of our students taking exams good luck and remind everyone to take care of themselves during these stressful few weeks.
Thank you, Sarah. Alexis, what is going on at Conard?
Happy May, everyone. Conard students have been extremely busy this past month and will continue to stay involved in numerous activities up until the very last day of school. For starters, since this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, we'd like to recognize all of our hardworking teachers that put in so much effort every day to help us students succeed. We are so lucky to have some of the best teachers around, so thank you. In other news, last week we had our 2 outstanding Unified Theater performances. Congratulations to everyone involved for putting on such a fantastic and uplifting show. A heartfelt thank you to advisors Holly Ruiz, Mike McGarry, Sharon Wall, Nora La Liberte, Jerson Montero, and Tiana. Additionally, thank you to Sam Urich for your vital tech support. Well done, everyone. Furthermore, congratulations to Hunter Parker and all the students who brought our town to life in the Black Box. Your enthusiastic performances captured the beauty, complexity, and quiet truths of Grover Corners. Thank you for reminding us to cherish the small moments. Lastly, we'd like to acknowledge some of our incredible cast and crew from Disaster the Musical that got nominated for Sondheim Awards. Congratulations to Charles Avery for Best Actor, Taylor Listini, Best Supporting Actress, Ally McLaren, Best Supporting Actor, Kelsey Collard, Achievement in Sound Design, Sam Urich, Best Music Direction, and of course everyone else involved for Best Ensemble, Achievement by a Student Orchestra, and Achievement in Stage Management. The Sparks Fly event took place last week. Sparks Fly lit up the evening as students showcased a wide range of artistic talents, including painting, drawing, and guitar performances. It was a truly memorable event. Special thanks to Pam Murphy, Jessica Fallis, and Sarah Regan from Conard for their outstanding efforts in organizing the event. Thank you as well to Alfredo Grado, his guitar students, and all of the amazing student performers. A few weeks ago, students participated in the Together We Grow event. By planting flowers, they are enhancing Conard spaces by creating bright, colorful, and welcoming areas throughout the building. Thank you to Rachel Caravella, McKenna Driscoll, and Kyle Triplett for working with these students. West Hartford Public Schools is proud to announce its participation in Skills USA National Signing Day, a nationwide celebration that recognizes high school students who are committing to careers in the skilled trades. The event is being organized in conjunction with the Town of West Hartford and the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce and will be held on Wednesday, May 14th from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. at the West Hartford Town Hall Auditorium. Students attending will also benefit from a breakfast and a networking event. This past weekend, like Sarah said, the Connecticut Association of School and Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference celebrated outstanding student athletes from high schools all across the state. Congratulations to seniors Courtney McPhee and Jules Capone for being awarded the Connecticut High School Scholar Athlete Award and representing Conard at the banquet. Additionally, our boys tennis team is currently undefeated and are hoping to remain that way. A few weeks ago, we also had some talented track athletes attend the very competitive Penn Relays. On the turf, our girls lacrosse athletes have been achieving some amazing things. Sophomore Cece Sersasimo was recognized for scoring 100 career goals, and senior Olivia Hull was recognized for becoming the all-time career point holder, sitting at 231 points. Congratulations to all these athletes, and keep making us proud this spring season. Junior and senior prom tickets are on sale right now. The last day to buy tickets is this Friday, May 9th, so don't forget. And lastly, as always, we continue to wish students the best of luck during this AP exam week. Weeks, plural, actually.
Thank you, Alexis. Well, Sarah and Alexis, you have reported well. You continue to represent well. And I must ask, has the final countdown begun? And how many days? 36. All right, all right. That's right. Well, wonderful job. Thank you so very much. And now moving on to unfinished business, which we do not have any of. So we now shall proceed to new business, where we have a recommended 2025-2026 budget revision, seeking a motion that the Board of Education adopt a revised 2025-2026 budget of $213,351,800 by making the following reduction to the previously adopted 2025-2026 Board of Education budget. Reduce appropriation for out-of-district tuition by $1,400,000. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Claire. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, LaToya. Discussion. So thank you, Liz, and Mr. Vicines, we'll pass it to you, please.
Thanks. Thank you so much. So as you all know, a couple of weeks back, our town council did go ahead and pass a town budget that included roughly $2.5 million less overall from their overall, $1 million being a reduction that they were making on the town side, and they passed a Board of Education budget that was $1.4 million below what was initially presented. And they did so, speaking about that, in anticipation of some potential state funding that would specifically support all districts with out-of-district tuition costs. So we bring you this budget this evening and are recommending that we make a reduction specifically to the out-of-district tuition line, equally in anticipation of that potential funding at the state level. And I have my very esteemed colleague Liz here who can support with any finer detail questions as you enter into discussion.
Thank you, Paul. Jason.
So I do have a couple of questions. So I've been sitting with this for a couple weeks now, and have kind of struggled a little bit, to be candid, because it violates the well-worn adage of counting your chickens before they hatch. But I do have every confidence in our state delegation. Can you talk a little bit about what's currently at the state level being proposed? Does it have the buy-in of the governor? What level of confidence do we have?
I mean, I'll start and I'll ask you to add some things on. So currently, my understanding is that, the budget went to appropriations, and at appropriations, they added, is it $124 million total to the out-of-district tuition? Initially, there was conversation, certainly when they passed the emergency certification this last go-round and provided that additional $40 million at the state level for excess cost reimbursement. There was a lot of talk from the legislature about wanting that additional $40 million to be the new floor, to be the new minimum. They took steps in the session to provide money above and beyond, and I do think that while there's there has been widespread support on both sides of the aisle for increasing the spending towards excess cost reimbursement, there is a tug of war with the governor and at large relative to spending guardrails. So while, my opinion, for what it's worth, I'm not certain that we're going to get the full amount coming out of appropriations as what's there. I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic, that there's a lot of attention and there may be more funding. Should there not be, as you know, and for the public audience, should it come through and there's an absolute zero additional that's been provided, then the town has already offered publicly that they would fund 50% of that, 1.4 million from on their side, and we would be responsible to find the additional. And we're looking, and I think we can talk about courses of action for that. But I'll toss it to Liz for any just on the what the state's doing side and your thoughts on that.
Thank you. I agree with Paul. We were very pleased to see that the $40 million that the governor had proposed for 2027 was included for 2026 by the Appropriations Committee, and then again, pleasantly surprised when on top of that they added an additional $84 million. We don't know at this point in time, as Paul said, whether that will go through or not, but we certainly are hopeful that there will be additional funding and that amount will come to the $1.4 million that we are currently asking you to reduce the out-of-district tuition appropriation by today. And I think that, while it certainly isn't certain, the fact that the town has offered to cover half of that, should this funding not come through, is just reassuring as well that we will be able to deal with whatever funding level we have.
So I just like to piggyback off of the 700,000 is obviously generous from the town council, but our half of that 700,000 that we'd be responsible for, that's a lot of money. And so first, a couple of questions on that would be, first of all, if we had to come back and make cuts, that 700,000, would we as a board have a say in where and the what that would be cut? Would we have to vote on that? And then secondly, is it likely that it would be something less than 700,000? So we've talked in the past about a non-lapsing account or maybe some surpluses in this year's budget, which we might be able to carry over.
Yeah, so I'll start. You correct me where I go wrong. So obviously we have a financial examiners meeting coming up, and one of the things I may have alluded to it. I'm trying to remember if I alluded to it on April 1st at our last board meeting, and if I didn't, I just try not to get ahead of the financial examiners in our process. But when the state finalized its last, I shouldn't say its last, when the state finalized its March data collection for excess cost reimbursement, what they do with that is they'll go back to districts at different points in time to have an estimate and an ongoing record of what those excess costs are, which shift obviously as students move, as services change within IEPs, and so on and so forth. That last data collection occurred in March and was finalized after our budget process was completed. And when that was done, there were kind of a couple of interesting outcomes. Number one, the excess cost reimbursement that's out there in the world is going to create reimbursements at a slightly lower rate than what we were previously told. That's sort of like the scary news. The good news is that our chunk of that pie is actually more than what they had previously reported to us. So, and the rationale behind that is there are just other districts who had lower costs than anticipated. We, not surprisingly, had higher costs than we anticipated. And we will have some money that will go into at a later meeting once we have a final kind of number on that. We will talk about at an upcoming meeting establishing that non-lapsing fund and putting that excess money into that account. And we feel confident at this point that even with a shortage of funding, we'll be okay to cover what we need to cover with excess cost reimbursement, utilizing surpluses that will be the effect of that increased contribution from the state in this year's money. For next year, by virtue of our ability to place that into a non-lapsing fund this year. So the short answer is yes, we feel comfortable that the funding levels, that we'll have a course of action plan that's not going to impact programs or other cuts.
Jason, was there another follow-up? No? All right, Claire.
So if I understand, the budget adopted by the budget approved by the town council, that amount now is going to be reduced based on a anticipation or potential of money that we think will be coming. And so I guess what's the problem with going with the budget that was adopted? And if the money does come through, wouldn't that then be something that would roll over into next year and reduce next year's budget? Why would we reduce the adopted budget based on something we're not sure of coming in?
So thank you for that question. Our budget has been reduced. Like our bottom line, the town council, that's a past tense statement. What we need to decide, what you need to decide, excuse me, as a board, is given the fact that the town council has reduced the Board of Education budget by 1.4 million, in what line do you want to reflect that 1.4 million? So we don't have the ability to go back and change what has occurred. The rationale for why it occurred on the town side is, as stated, is, as you said, in anticipation. But they, and their rationale for doing that, to sort of answer your question, why not wait, was because they wanted to have an upfront way to reduce the tax burden. But they made that decision. That's like in cement. So we don't have a choice there. Our choices are, how are we going to deal with 1.4 million less than what you put forward to the town council, and that is the recommendation before you, to align it with the out-of-district tuition, because on the one hand, there's an anticipation of potential increased funding, which would negate the need for as much as we've currently budgeted. And on the other hand, regardless, any monies that we have, and we do expect to have a surplus, and we'll have a financial examiner's report upcoming, but we do anticipate that any excesses that we have, we put into this non-lapsing fund, and it would cushion that, whether it be for this coming year, or even if we, even as we kind of went forward, if we had an additional excess, we'd be able to create that for the following year. But our goal with budgeting, it will always be not to budget more than is necessary. So any excesses that we have in any given year, we'll account for at our next very transparent, very public budget cycle.
So the town council was confident that the 1.4 million is coming in, and they reduced our budget that we put forward by that amount because of that confidence they have in that amount.
Correct.
I'm very concerned because I'm not confident about a lot of our grant funding this year, and there have been multiple threats at a federal level that we will lose some of that funding. Now, that funding goes to the state, and then the state then, what do they have to make up to all the districts of any federal funding in title grants and IDEA? And so there's a lot of concern I have about nothing certain, and this anticipation of money that could not transpire. I don't think it's a year to gamble.
No, I appreciate that, and I think, I sat at that town council meeting. I think the uncertainty with funding levels federally at the state level, I think that's shared by everyone. That said, we don't have the ability, as a district, you don't have the ability as a board to increase what's been approved by the town at this stage. So your decisions are on how to deal with the 1.4 million.
So what are we voting on?
We are voting on which line item to reduce the $1.4 million from.
And is there an option of different line items, or is that the one vote, the one option?
Well, what our superintendent and his team have recommended is what we see before us, and so we are entrusting they would make a wise recommendation. However, if there is a disagreement on that particular line item, then that is why we do have this discussion period here. But the motion on the floor pertains to the reduction to said line item. You're non-verbally communicating. Do you care to add?
So is this basically the fact that certain line items can't be designated by the town council, but this line item is designated in many ways because we know exactly what it is and where it's coming from and what it pertains to? So we're basically agreeing that this money from the governor is probably going to come, and having confidence that the town council believes that too, and we're all voting that we all believe that this might come. Is that basically what we're doing?
Yes, but I want to empower us a little bit more. In that, I think, and we all know the budget process that we have gone through for months now, and yes, it was complete when we voted in April. However, it certainly was an inclusive one that involved voices from many. Oh, I know you're not. I'm saying this intentionally. And we're on the same team. We're on the same team. I'm saying this intentionally because also, too, what was very helpful with this process was having the support of the town council in being in those conversations. So to your point, in terms of what line item and having to reduce, no decision was made in haste. And I think all would desire to just fund exactly what we asked for. But there are so many decisions that have to be made because of how precarious this current climate is right now. And so from what I gather, the recommendation as it has been in terms of the dollar amount, as we know, when it comes to our budget, only we can decide on what line item it comes from. Now, I hear what you're saying. Oh, well, it just happens to be within a line. But again, that in fairness to our mayor and our town council was done intentionally because they do have confidence in the reimbursement we are to receive. They have been advocating for us in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, at the Capitol, at games, literally. Advocating, pushing, as has our state delegation, advocating. And so many people have basically said, we're counting on this to happen. So here we are right now. Yes, with the amount that needs to be reduced, it is what it is, but it is with confidence that we will receive the reimbursement from the state as they have said. However, if the worst case scenario were to happen, and thank you, Jason, for your question, thank you, Superintendent Vicines, for sharing a backup plan that we do have in place. So we do have some wiggle room. Thank you so much, Liz, for your wonderful fiscal expertise. We do have some wiggle room just in case the worst case scenario were to happen. But to your point, this is where we are, and it is one that will help us to move forward depending on which path may happen, but at least the path is taking us forward. Gail and then Ethan.
So I'm a little bit concerned because we did have a bipartisan bill put out, I believe, within the last few months at the legislature, and it was, I believe, for this type of funding, and it was vetoed by the governor. So that makes me very uncomfortable that, we're saying that we think we're going to get this funding, we believe we're going to get this funding, but the governor had a bipartisan bill and he vetoed it. My question, though, is I don't exactly understand the non-lapsing fund. I think what I understood, but I would like to be corrected if I'm wrong, is that what you're saying is that you would be finding savings in other places, and that would be going into a fund that would then fund half of $1.4 million should we need it. If that is true, that we're simply going to be looking for funding and, where we've saved a little bit here, a little bit there, and then be putting it into a fund. I'm just curious what we have saved in a previous year in terms of numbers, because I don't remember ever hearing that we saved $700,000 and on a budget. I think those numbers were much, much smaller. So I would be curious to know what we have saved in previous years.
Certainly. I want to start with one piece, and I can have Liz help me on some specifics. But you're absolutely right that first and foremost, dramatic bipartisan support for increasing spending towards excess cost reimbursement at the state level for all districts, and it did go forward, and it was initially vetoed, but then it was passed, and the whole rationale behind the veto had something to do with the language of the bill. And so what happened immediately following the veto, as you'll recall, is, I don't know the turnaround, but it was 24, 48 hours. It was very short, where the governor basically said, no to the way that it's written, but rewrite it this way. And the legislature rewrote it that way, and then it was signed and passed, and we are receiving that money. And that additional money, as you'll recall, is part of the savings that we do anticipate, because we were earlier this year, we were projecting a fairly significant shortfall within excess cost reimbursement. And so when all the tables were balanced and everything was justified, our bottom line was going to be, we were concerned that we would have a shortfall. And we wanted to publicize that, number one, out of transparency, and number two, to really provide the community at large, like Liz and her team always do an amazing job, because we have a statutory requirement to come in with a balanced budget. So they always find a way. And there are always some extreme measures that can be taken to fill in shortfalls that have to do with, some funds that we have that I know get talked about at the Financial Examiners Committee that are protecting the budget at large from large cliffs or large increases overall. Some of the reserve funds for different things, utilities, insurance, some of these things. It's not good budgeting to deplete those funds in a singular year in case, unless and in case of an emergency. And we were facing the emergency until that emergency bill came through. And then, as I was saying, that once it was basically the early weeks of April, we got updated numbers from the state of Connecticut as to what our actual funding will be. And there is one more filing for excess cost reimbursement that happens. The total excess cost reimbursement doesn't happen until the last bill essentially is paid at the end of the school year. However, for planning purposes, they have to cut it off. So they use the March data collection at the state level to say that when you're going to close this year's books, this is the dollar value that we're going to promise you. So the state has recently, in the first weeks of April, republished districts. This is how much money you are going to get. You have to still do a late June filing, And if there are corrections to that, those corrections, like if the state still owes us a little bit of money, or if potentially we owe the state because they paid us too much, that gets corrected in the next fiscal year, so that school districts can close their books statutorily like they need to do. And the bottom line of it is that the biggest amount of real savings is really more revenue coming in from the state through excess cost reimbursement that we learned about in April. We didn't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, and we wanted to be certain. So Liz's team has been in frequent communication with the state to verify that number, to then ask, hey, well, what about this extra money from the 40 million, right? We're supposed to get a little more than $1 million from that. And they said, is the formula going to be the same? Can you give us that number? So she's verified that. And we will have the opportunity, that's really going to be the place by which we'll create the ability to have this non-lapsing fund. And you asked about, so that's where the savings are going to come from. And what that's going to do is it's going to insulate us from, if there was a shortfall, if this money didn't come through from the state, to Claire's point, like what's the other line item? We don't want to cut a program. We don't want to cut X number of teachers and take from insurance and reopen a contract. We don't want to do any of that. We've been very transparent about that throughout our entire process. We've had great communication with our town council. Our town council doesn't want us to do that, although it's not their decision, it's your decision. But we do feel confident. And relative to how do we do it, it is the creation of a non-lapsing fund, where previously, going back a couple of years, anytime there was an excess, it was a requirement that the Board of Education turn that money over to the town. But a couple of years ago, and Liz will jump in and clarify this with much better granular detail, the state passed a law that said that school districts, boards of education, could create a non-lapsing fund and put excess money that they had at the close of their budget year into it specifically for educational purposes. And I'll say that in general terms, and you can clarify that with better language.
No, that's actually, it's a very general law, as Paul said. It used to be that it required town council approval in order to set up a non-lapsing fund. And in fact, we did so during COVID and then used those funds going forward. Some of you may recall that. But the legislation has changed, and the statute now says that the Board of Education has the ability to set up a non-lapsing fund to put unexpended funds into that at year end and use them in the following year or following years, plural, as long as they are used for educational purposes.
So I just want to clarify, because I've never seen us, at the end of the year, I mean, we're talking very small amounts of money,
Yep.
and we've always been told that money has to go back to the town council. But even if it doesn't have to go back to the town council, I mean, the numbers are quite small compared to $700,000. So is there a non-lapsing fund that has,
No, so
hundreds of thousands of dollars in it?
No, currently there is no non-lapsing fund because the board would have to take action to establish that now that the legislation has changed. And you're correct that we generally have very small surpluses. However, this year, because of the repeated revisions to the excess cost reimbursement, we do expect that just in that line item, we will end up having a surplus of approximately $700,000 that you could take action to put into a non-lapsing fund in order to ensure against any sort of shortfall next year, with the town committing to matching that $700,000.
Okay, and I just want to, this is my last follow-up. So, Paul, I just want to also clarify that, what I think I heard is that basically the legislature went back after the governor vetoed it and actually passed it.
Yes, that's the 40 million that we are getting. So
I'm talking about for 26.
for this year, for this
Oh,
year.
for this year. But then there was a bill, I thought, for 26 that the governor vetoed, even though that had bipartisan support.
My understanding, Was this
I
year's
don't
money?
think he's done that yet. At this point in time, he expressed support for putting the 40 million in for 27, but since they're still in the process, the Appropriations Committee has now proposed that for 26, along with an additional 84 million, and he has not taken action on that yet. They're still reviewing that, and he will have to decide.
Yeah, I think the veto that you're
Was for this
thinking
Was
of
for
year?
is for this
25.
year's
Okay, I
money.
thought it was for 26, but, okay. So for 26, they've not, there's no agreement yet. Okay, thank you.
So first question is, the lapsing fund, or non-lapsing, whatever, the fund, can the town council come back and say they want the money?
No, once the funds go into there, it is at the discretion of the board to spend those as long as they're done in accordance with the statute.
Okay. So, I was the one who voted against the budget, and I voted against it because I thought that the tuition payment seemed high. I was over 150,000 versus $1.4 million. I think since our vote is on that line item alone, I'm good with that. But what I'd suggest, Lorna, is we should talk to the town council and figure out a better process, because I feel like trains left the station, and why do we spend all this time looking at it? If the town council is going to reject the budget substantially, then there should be some communication so we can at least adapt as the time goes on, as opposed to sort of at the end saying, okay, I mean, there's not that many changeable items in the budget, so.
No, correct,
It's just
and-
frustrating.
Very much. I don't, the process that we have, obviously the town council has responsibility to pass the overall number for both the board and the town. And they have line item control over the town side, and you have line item control over the board side. And while it can be frustrating, I can appreciate that. I would certainly say, and you attended, like, there was a lot of cross communication between the town and the board that was happening, and we had significant communication in and around this one very item, excess cost reimbursement. It was the overriding driver of our budget. The town, as Lorna said, was extremely engaged with the delegation. I was a little bit engaged with the delegation. They were incredibly engaged with the delegation. Lorna and I had the opportunity to go when that bill was passed, based on West Hartford's advocacy. We were kind of highlighted as a district related to the passing of that emergency certification. So I do appreciate there's a feeling of angst and frustration specifically. I mean, and this is a good news story because as you said, you wanted to reduce this, and here you are. Today's the day. You're getting to do it.
I just think it was a 40% increase, which seemed excessive. And when I went through the formula, I thought there was some give there. So it was water under the dam. I just think if the town knows they're going to make a substantial cut in the budget, which is their right to do, then a little pre-communication.
I would want to say, out of respect for the collaboration that we've had in the process, I'm only saying that we had a lot of ongoing, and it's really the sequencing of, our budget, which comes first, the town council's budget, but then the state budget, which is still ongoing.
Right.
And I think this is a byproduct of where the state is in its process and ongoing conversations that were happening between the town and the state as to kind of where they were leaning as a state. And they were, this excess cost reimbursement became a major issue in the state's budget. So it became a major driver for them. And early in this process, in transparency, our communication with the town council was, we can't take a dramatic hit of millions of dollars without slashing programs. And it was really only by virtue of this ongoing communication and the advocacy that was happening at the state level, and then I think good fortune that in early April, we learned that we were going to get a sizable increase in excess cost reimbursement across the state. Our original was, we were anticipating getting 3.2.
3.4.
3.4 originally.
4% of the
Yep.
total appropriation statewide, and now we are getting 3.85%. And that's because of our costs going up as a percentage of the total cost across the state.
It just seems like there was a number that the town, people in the town council, and I have had no communication on it, but having done budgets for many years in private sector, it sounds like they got a cushion, and I don't know. I just think the process was frustrating because the number's big. I understand why they cut the number, but it would have been nice to have been part of the process. And you all might have been, but I didn't feel like, I thought we were sort of catching this now. So, and I'm not faulting anybody, so it's,
No, I'm not taking it as fault. I mean, some of it's proximity. I mean, I work with the town manager. Throughout the month of March, I might have met with Rick 2-3 times a week to talk through issues where things are as I'm developing recommendations that came to the board. And, I know that Lauren and I had the opportunity to sit with the mayor and we have conversations as to where we are, what it looks like. And those were early on. And then we had all of the joint Board of Ed and town council representatives who came to those community pieces. But, there was conversations that preceded that, conversations that followed after. So while it may not have been, the entire group of folks, there's a lot of communication that's going on.
I just find it hard to believe they didn't have a number they didn't want to go over for tax increase. And I think that's the right way to do it. Just would have been nice to have been able to be preemptive as opposed to, we're sort of retroactive now, we don't really have much choice.
I did want to just add one thing. I didn't want you to think that the 1.4 million was just kind of a number that they selected. So the 1.4 million is our portion of the emergency certification that the state made of 40 million. And so when the state made the emergency certification, we estimated that we were getting 1.4 million of that this year.
Right.
And so that's the amount that they selected, that the town council reduced us for next year because they felt confident that that same 40 million would pass. So I think that was the tie-in to the amount, just in case that wasn't clear in our previous explanations.
Okay, thank you.
Jason and then Claire.
So coming back to where we are tonight and for purposes of what we're voting on, the simple fact is we have to cut $1.4 million from our budget. We
Correct.
just so happen to have a way being proposed tonight that is the one most likely to have the least impact and potentially no impact on what actually is happening in the classroom on a day-to-day basis.
Correct.
That's fair?
Yes.
And being my fourth budget that I've been working on since I've been on the board, this process I felt had a lot more collaboration, the talking sessions, the work that was done with the town, how much work you do with the town manager. It just, the way it was presented was just a little surprising. I was under the impression the budget we proposed passed. And so this proposal, but would this be the process that we would take after the budget is approved by the town? Or is this an extra step? Because I don't remember in the 4 years that we then had to vote on a change. So that's what's confusing me,
Sure.
and it seems something new. I have nothing against how this process works. It's just confusing the way it's presented.
Now, if I appreciate the question. So I sketchy on the exact details, but I'm pretty certain last year the town council reduced our overall budget by somewhere in the neighborhood of $550,000.
Exactly.
So just over $500,000, and we came back in a subsequent meeting and determined the means by which we would absorb that $550,000 cut. And as I recall, we might have spread it across several line items.
I don't have that resolution in front of me, but I seem to recall that we did spread it across. Yeah, it could have been the retiree health reserve. Yep. The reserve for retiree health is, I believe, where we took it. You're right, Ethan.
Yeah, so it is the process that, it is our, in theory, it's our I won't use the word routine, it is our standard operating procedure. If the town council passes the board dollar value, there's no need for us to revisit. But if the town council makes any reduction at all, then we come back in subsequent meetings and decide how to absorb that reduction.
And coincidentally, there's always seems to be that exact amount in some fund within the Board of Ed that can cover the amount that is reduced.
I don't think that's exactly right. I think they make a reduction, and we have to find a way to react to that and respond to that. And our practice is to do it in a way that does not affect our students and stays away from the classroom. And so we look at our options and select the option that we think is least likely to impact our students and our teachers.
Gail?
Yeah, thanks. So I just want to make one comment that I find, the whole process, I agree with some of my colleagues here, is like confusing and seems a little bit like backwards. But, we voted on a budget which was exceedingly high for all the years I've sat on the board. It was certainly the highest percent budget that I think we've ever had in the last, as long as I'm sitting here. And I was under the impression that, I actually voted for it because I felt that most of the stuff on that budget we didn't really have control over. A lot of it was being driven by things out of our control. But, I'm sitting here now, and it seems that, like, when we have to be able to come up find $700,000 of savings, we somehow could do it. And, I just think the look of that is a little bit weird, that we, had a budget of, what was the percent on the budget?
7%,
7.2%. But now we can suddenly find $700,000 in savings. And if the town had said, 1.9 million, maybe we would have found $1 million in savings. So I don't know, that just seems a little kind of unusual to me. But that's just my comment. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, you passed, I think my recommendation originally was seven and change. You guys passed 6.89,
6.9.
6.9. And to Liz's point, at the end of the day, the town council will advise us, here's your final number. We basically go to them, you guys vote, and you agree, this is what we want to ask for. And you present that, and as you said, it was a high, and there were a dramatic number of variables that were outside of our control. And when we made that decision, the alternative of providing a budget that was going to be lower would have required cutting programs. So we went and said to the town council, this is what we would like. And they had several weeks before, they first presented their first budget on April 1st, April 2nd. It was
They
the first week.
presented their proposed in March. We adopted around April 1st or 2nd, but then they didn't have to adopt for another 3 weeks.
Another 3 weeks. In that 3 weeks' time, they gained more information and greater outlook and had conversation with us. They talked about the 1.4 million, as Liz said, based on the appropriation that we had, and they offered 700,000 because when they came to us, hey, we're thinking of they didn't come and ask permission. They kind of came and said, so that we're thinking of a significant cut because we have this trust in the state. And of course, we're saying, yeah, but what if? And we can't absorb 1.4 million. It's not going, if that 1.4 million doesn't come through, we cannot absorb it. It will be significant cuts that happen. But at that time, as I've said, in early April, we got updated numbers on what excess cost reimbursement would be. And we were able, to then project what we think might be reasonable to come to an understanding. So there's no, as I think Liz said it best, at the end of the day, the town council does come to us and say, this is your number, and it is our responsibility to find a way to make that work. Now, our goal with that is always to find a way to make that work without it impacting classrooms and services that we provide. But should the town council have wanted a zero, which was part of a conversation that was had early on in the process, we would have to adjust to that. And there would be a recognition and understanding that that would mean, like, there's not a way for us to do that from a utility reserve or something, you know, or buying less computers. There's just, you know, the significance of such a number would mean dramatic cuts and changes to what services and programs look like currently. There was no appetite for that, certainly at the board level. There was no appetite for that at the town council level. So the cut that they proposed was one that there was some confidence that should the state money not come through, that all entities, both the town and the board, would have a means by which to absorb that through whatever financial working. So I don't want it to feel anything other than it is, which is planful and in reaction to the most up-to-date information from the legislature and the most up-to-date information from the state of Connecticut in terms of our reimbursements.
So, and just so the record's clear, as I've understood this entire conversation, we didn't find $700,000 that existed on April 1st when we passed the budget. No. We actually, we got a slate of good news coming from the state that hadn't happened in a while, but that we were getting more in excess cost reimbursement, which is why, if we have to next year, we could absorb that $700,000. It isn't that we found $700,000 that we could have at the time we voted on the budget. Is that fair?
That is correct.
Latoya.
Thank you. Yeah, and I also just wanted to clarify, too, for the record, that tonight we are voting on the line item proposed for this reduction, but we are not voting on whether or not we can or cannot suggest this, right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes.
Other questions or comments? Again, we have a motion on the floor. This is the discussion period. All right. So with that, I am going to ask Charlotte, please, for a roll call vote, just because I want to make sure that all voices and votes are heard clearly. So a roll call vote, please, for the motion on the floor.
Mr. Gagnon,
Yes.
Mr. Goldman,
Yes.
Dr. Harris,
Yes.
Mrs. Nezzarella,
Yes.
Dr. Thomas Farquharson,
Yes.
and Mrs. Yagaloff.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes. Thank you all so much for your input. And Liz, thank you for
Thank you.
yours. Thank you. And Mr. Vicinas, thank you as well. And so with that, now moving on to staff communications and reports, and we shall receive our superintendent's report. Mr. Vicinas?
Thank you. And it's been a while since we've met, so I have a number of things. So I try not to repeat some of the stuff our students shared, which was outstanding news that we have going on at our schools. And but I will take a moment to, again, recognize today is National Teacher Appreciation Day, and thoroughly appreciative of everything that our hardworking teachers do every single day to impact the life of a child. It was mentioned Jewish American Heritage Month, Asian Pacific Islander Month. I'm very excited for the pieces that are happening in our schools to help educate our kids, and you heard about those. It's also Mental Health Awareness Month, and so I certainly want to share that. So incredibly proud to announce the Conard High School Student Council has been awarded the National Gold Council of Excellence Award, which is a dramatically prestigious recognition that celebrates exceptional student leadership, service, and community engagement. And by virtue of this award, the Conard Student Council has distinguished itself from among thousands of councils nationwide. This is only, I think, 3 schools who received the award. Special kudos to Kelly Casey, our student council facilitator. And I would love to thank the leadership of the Conard Student Council, but they are they lead by cooperative, and there's a picture that I emailed you. There's so many of them to recognize. So just incredibly, just a great award. Congratulations to Bugby students Evie Miller, Gabriel Burnham, and Wesley Morin, who are the State of Connecticut Spring 2025 Stock Market Game winners. We seem to have so many state winners in the stock market. Maybe we can have them do a board workshop for us at one point. They competed and surpassed 84 teams of 4th and 5th graders from across the state. They had a 13.5% return during this very volatile period from January to April of this year. So a shout out to Ms. Post Perez, the Quest teacher, for all of her support and inspiration. And incredibly proud once again to announce the amazing performance and talents of our Quest students and Quest program graduates on yet another incredible performance by West Hartford students at State History Day. Sedgwick 8th grader Durrani Luthra earned first place honors in the junior individual documentary category for her project entitled Fighting Against Barbed Wire Japanese American Internment During World War II. Sedgwick 7th grader Cameron Batchelder took second place for his piece, The Price of Power, How the United States Left an Indelible Mark on the Lives of Veterans and Marshall Islanders. Keep listening to these topics. They're so impressive. Sedgwick 8th grader Anna Pax Small earned second place honors in the junior individual exhibit category for her project, Do With Less So They'll Have Enough, How the U.S. Rationing During World War II Called Upon Americans to Sacrifice Personal Freedoms for the Greater Good. And finally, Conard sophomore Luke Kalk earned first place in the senior individual documentary category for his research on I Hope One Day You'll Join Us and the World Will Live as One, the consequences of the United States' failure to ratify the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. All of these incredibly talented student scholars have qualified to advance to the national level competition hosted at the University of Maryland in June. And kudos to Quest teacher David Lee for his amazing inspiration and guidance throughout the entirety of the process. Our students both spoke about the incredible Unified Weekend we had between Unified Theater and Unified Sports, as well as the amazing Sparks Fly event, and again, the whole team, and a special, again, shout out to Alfredo Grado, who's kind of like the father of the whole effort, as I understand it. Just amazing. I'm very happy to announce Conard Boys Hockey is planning an event for the State Hockey Championship banner unveiling on May the 31st. So kudos to the players, the coaches, all the support of the Conard community. We're certainly extremely proud of that accomplishment. There's been several leadership announcements during the month of April, and there will be several to come still. So first and foremost, I want to thank and congratulate Liz Hewitt, our Director of Finance and Planning, as well as Dr. Andy Morrow, our Assistant Superintendent for Administration, on their impending retirements. Both Liz and Andy have been absolutely amazing partners, incredible leaders, and trusted friends. And their time in West Hartford is undoubtedly a lasting positive impact on the operation and on the legacy of our school district. I want to publicly acknowledge and welcome Barbara Rua as our incoming Director of Finance and Planning. Additionally, I'm glad to announce that Julio Duarte will take the helm as Assistant Superintendent for Administration. And finally, I'll be welcoming Shannon Majinski as our next Executive Director of Human Resources. And somehow I feel I've got the great fortune of amazing draft picks and the absolute top prospects on the team. Barbara has an incredible background in finance and accounting from her time in the district, where she operated as accounting manager, as well as a length of experience at the state level. She's a superstar. I'm so fortunate to have someone so ready to step into this position of significant trust and responsibility. You all know Julio very well as our Human Resources Director, where he demonstrates himself as a strategic leader and a systems thinker. Prior to that post, you may or may not know, he was one of our top principals, serving the Conard community for many years. And he will bring all those skills to bear as he takes on this new lens and this new office, and I'm excited to work closely with him in that capacity. And finally, Shannon, who's following in Julio's path as an exceptional principal, problem solver, and leader. She'll be our next director of human resources. She was recently honored by the Bridge as the Build No Fences Award recipient, which speaks to her character, to her demeanor, to her dedication, and her support for everyone around her. So I'm excited by this team joining with Ann, Melissa, and Teresa to take the district to even greater heights. So kudos to all of you. I've also recently announced Sarah Isaacs as the principal of Hall. I'm happy to now announce Kelly Sousa Purcell, the principal of Whiting Lane Elementary. These two leaders began the year in interim roles, and they not only proved themselves well in these roles as the best choices for that moment, but each shined through their individual interview and search processes, winning out over a pool of highly competitive candidates. We'll soon be announcing Webster Hill and Aiken, who are in different stages of their search process. On a more challenging note, I want to bring attention to the public of a recent social media challenge. If you've heard about the different challenges that go out to adolescents on social media, they're never any good. It encourages students to tamper with Chromebooks with the intention of damaging them, causing their batteries to overheat and potentially ignite. It's obviously a dramatic safety concern. We're communicating with students across the secondary level where students are more apt to see these messages, and we're taking precautions to support supervision and appropriate use of material to avoid any unnecessary property damage or safety concerns. But I would ask parents to have conversations at home. I trust you two are good. Last week, on May the 30th, our adult education program celebrated 4 adult graduates who received their high school equivalency as part of the National External Diploma Program. Mayor Cantor was on hand to provide short remarks, and we also celebrated residents who had earned their citizenship, taking language and adult education courses in pursuit of the same. The comments that were provided by these adult students were incredibly moving and demonstrated the power and the value of education. I'm just so pleased by that. Lastly, spring has arrived, and with the nice weather, we have a greater number of students walking, riding bicycles to school. So I always ask the listening public to be aware of the increased traffic. Keep an eye out for kids. The Commissioner of Public Safety has announced a community conversation with the Hate Crime Investigation Unit in collaboration with the State Police and West Hartford Police. And that's going to take place this week, May 8th, here in the Town Hall. Monday, May 19th, the district will be hosting our annual mentor breakfast. Be very excited for that downstairs. Please join if you can. And save the date for Thursday, May 29th, for the Future Educators of Diversity pinning ceremony. And as was already mentioned a couple of times, Conard is celebrating the Career Fields Signing Day, which will happen on May the 14th. So all great events. I have one more announcement, but I will save it for when specific person comes up to the board table in a moment. So pending your questions.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments regarding our superintendent's update? All right. Thank you, Mr. Vicines. Oh, please, Claire, yes.
So the elementary Special Olympics Day that was held at Conard, do you know what schools participate in that? And is it district-wide? Are there schools outside of West Hartford?
I don't know about schools outside of West Hartford. That's a great question. I don't, but I believe it's all of our IA program schools that participate or have the opportunity to participate. I didn't get metrics. Unfortunately, I had drill this weekend, so I didn't attend. But all of our program schools, my understanding, have the ability to participate in that. And I know that Melissa's not here today. She's out, but she said she was brought to tears this weekend by just the incredible, not just the sports event, but the theater event. She said it was just so moving.
I'd like to add, a lot of the theater, unified theater students volunteered the next day after 2 nights of long performances. And it was, the young kids just loved it. The older kids were so supportive, and I saw the kids leaving with their medals. And I really think it's great that we're bringing the unified down to elementary because it makes a big difference.
Beautiful, thank you. Any other comments, questions regarding our superintendent's update? All right, thank you again. Now moving on to staff reports and board discussions, where we shall receive our personnel report. And having Mr. Julio Duarte to come to the table.
Right. Good evening, everyone. I am pleased to present our latest personnel report in accordance with district policy. You will find it on page 2 of your board packet. As you know, I provide regular updates on any changes related to our certified staff, including teachers and administrators. Tonight, I will summarize these numbers reflecting all changes since my last personnel report in February. This month's report includes the following: 1 leave of absence, 15 resignations, and 16 retirements. We also hired 1 contracted teacher and 1 interim teacher. As we quickly approach the end of the school year and continue to receive retirement announcements, I want to take a moment to acknowledge these outstanding individuals and educators. The 16 dedicated individuals listed in my report today have contributed a combined 340 years of service, averaging over 21 years each in West Hartford Public Schools. We are deeply grateful for their unwavering commitment to our students and our community, and extend a heartfelt congratulations and best wishes for a joyful and fulfilling retirement. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you so much. Gail, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I've asked this question before, but when I look at the resignations, 12 out of the 15 resignations have resigned, and people who have been here really just for 3 years. So I'm curious, do you collect, and obviously here we don't really get any information as to why these people resigned, but do you collect information regarding why people are resigning, and ever look at that, like, as in terms of trying to retain teachers, because obviously hard to come by good teachers?
Yeah, absolutely. So anytime anyone resigns or retires, I will always send them a letter and an email, but I'll also include a anonymous survey that they're allowed to do and to provide that. And in that survey too, I'll ask, hey, would you like to meet with me? And many folks do take me up on that offer, and I'll have one-on-one conversation with them to get a sense of, what is the issue? And truly they vary from, a lot of relocations, believe it or not, and then just folks that are at different stages now in life and needing to take some, time to take care of whether it's either a new child coming or an elderly parent, and really just doing those types of things. So really I look for themes. Actually, Paul and I spent some time yesterday just looking and dissecting some of that data to try to look for any themes that we would be concerned about. And, we're really just not seeing that. It just tends to be, again, various life situations, I'll call them. And we also took a look at several years back to look and see if there was a change in trends. And again, we're seeing that consistent number across our staff.
Claire.
If I'm correct, the current statistics are in the first 5 years, 1 in 5 teachers will not continue with their career. And so the dropout rate, what you learn in school and then what you find in the workplace, having worked 20 years in business and then, 20 some years in teaching, it's a whole different thing. They can't prepare you in school for what it is actually like, the management, the juggling and everything. So there's a very big problem in the United States where 1 in 5 brand new teachers will leave the profession. But as you said, it's not usually the newer teachers. They can't say, they don't have to say why they're leaving. I just wanted to note there's some superstars, some people that I've known for a long time. I wish a congratulations to all the retirees. I also know that there's a lot of hiring that's going to be needed, and your new position will not start then till the summer, or are you?
So,
You got a lot of hiring here.
Yeah, so I'll tackle that because I do want to just circle back to Gail. You know, one of the things that I think sometimes when we see resignation, we may, I don't know, maybe the natural instinct is to think negatively, but there's actually some folks on there that are getting what we'll call promotions or moving in a different, right? You're moving into leadership roles or something else. So, that. I think the truth is that the WHPS on a resume is something that's very sought after. And so we've got a lot of rock star teachers and other folks in various roles that once they see that and they apply for jobs. And even I know folks that have been cold called, right? Like, hey, interested in this because they know the work we're doing here. They see the work that we've been doing here and the work that we're promoting and are happy to, I'll call, borrow our ideas. And so that comes with the cost of stealing our people sometimes. So I do, as much as I try to meet with them and say, like, hey, we want you to stay here, there's a part of me too that's excited for folks when they're getting those opportunities. And then certainly tell them, hey, we always welcome you back. And so those are some of the pieces. One of the things is that, I'll be excited and happy to work with Shannon, as Paul mentioned. She's not only a rock star principal, she's someone that I've worked very closely with in her role. Paul, I think, did not mention she's actually the president of the Administrators Union. So some of you may have remember dealing with her in some capacity too while we went through negotiations. I think she was in a vice president role at that time. So she's very well suited to do with this and already I'm including her on emails and, my personal charge is to take care of a lot of the things that I need to take care of before I pass the baton to her. But, I do want to just take the time to thank Andy. He's been a great mentor and friend to me as I've gone through my career and has already just graciously been offering, hey, here's a committee, here's something you want to get involved in, hey, you should attend this. So, I think that for lack of a better term, the baton passing will be smooth. And it's not just grounded in because we're all here for, wanting to do the right thing for kids, but we're also really close outside and want to wish each other the best and have a good, smooth transition through. So.
Other questions, comments? All right, thank you very much. And may this be our last time having you present to us in your current role.
I don't know. I have to look ahead, but I'm already thinking about my snow day calls.
All right. Thank you. Now we shall move to computer science update. And we have Ms. McKernan and Ms. Coricelli and Mr. Vosse coming to the table. We'll pass it to Superintendent Vicines to
Excellent.
do more formal introductions.
So as they're getting set up, I had one more announcement that I wanted to wait to give you because I'm very excited to announce that our own Ms. Jackie Coricelli has been selected by the Our Community Salutes organization for the STEM Teacher Award. This award is given to a teacher whose service, compassion, and commitment serve as an example for all. She'll be formally awarded at a state ceremony this coming May the 17th. I'll be very pleased to join her there. And honestly, that's just one accolade of many that Jackie has earned over the years. She's a genuine mover and a shaker within the computer science world. And we're so very proud to have her on the team. This report, very excited to present to you an update on where we are in computer science. We've had a few reports, and honestly, with the pace of change, it would be nothing to have really a report probably every 2 months to just keep up. As you know, as a board, I've talked about naming computer science as an area of focus, as a skill that our graduates need to have in order to really be ready citizens. And some of the most recent changes within computer science come from what's going on in the world of artificial intelligence and how quickly that's progressing. So I know the team here. I know Zach I was going to have Ann introduce, Jackie and Zach, but I see we're going to deal with a little
There's an irony here.
technology thing. I'm going to, I'm certain we can get this resolved
It's actually pretty
relatively
perfect.
quickly.
Computer science is a little messy, and sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah.
But let me jump up. I'll troubleshoot that. And if you want to introduce your team and give some introductory comments.
All right. No, that's all right. Okay. What'd you say? All right, well, I will navigate from this spot, but I am pleased to be here tonight, and I introduce my colleagues, Jackie Corselli, our curriculum specialist for computer science, and Zach Bose, who is our curriculum specialist for STEM. And tonight we will review we're really proud to present our computer science program and our updates in artificial intelligence, which, as Paul said, is moving faster than we can get the projector ready, obviously. So I'd like to start with our agenda for tonight, and we're going to ground our agenda in the way we look at our program and the data that we use to inform the decisions we make about where we're going, because there's many ways to move forward in these areas. Then we'll spend some time talking about all the updates we have in the computer science area, what we're doing in the artificial intelligence area, and we'll leave some time for questions. And I'd like to turn it over at this time to Jackie Corselli, who will talk about the foundation of our program, which is, Jackie, you can just sit there if you like. So I'll turn over to Jackie, who introduced us to a framework called the CAPE Data Analysis Framework, which helps us to understand where we are with computer science and how to move forward. So, Jackie.
Thank you so much. I learned about the CAPE framework from my kitchen. I was attending an online conference, and the people who were speaking were from the University of Texas. They had adopted or created it to look at computer science from an equity perspective for the state of Texas. And the way that they explained it to me, I thought that is exactly the tool we've been looking for here in West Hartford to be able to look at our computer science data, not based on AP scores or end result experience, but instead based on looking at there's many reasons why there's such a disparity between who's participating at the end. So let's pull that apart, and that's sort of what this framework does for us. So I'll start off by explaining that it's a little like layers of an onion, or something that you enjoy more. It starts with capacity, CAPE, so that's the acronym, capacity, then access, then participation, then experience. Capacity is about, are there even enough resources to be able to support computer science in an institution or in a district in our case? And even if we have capacity to be able to do that, well then is there the ability for students to be able to have the opportunity to learn computer science? Do they even have access to it? Even if we have capacity, the teachers, and the opportunity provided by students, that doesn't mean we'll have equity in our classrooms, because we need to think about participation. Does every student participate equally when they're in the room? And speaking of when they're in the room, even if we have capacity, the teachers, access, the students, and participation, they're in the room, they're not experiencing it equally. So there's multiple layers of the experience of computer science education. I'll start specifically with capacity. We had this analysis done in 2021 and then again in 2023. And in that time, we went from 1 to 4 teachers who are endorsed to teach computer science. So that's an example of a capacity statistic. Another example was a 6-fold increase in the number of teachers who reported getting computer science training in the system. Now, some of that came from yours truly and other people that are here in the room all working together. This has been just an amazing team to work with, but those are 2 examples of capacity statistics. The next slide is about access. Yes, please. So this slide goes into little details about access for all of our elementary schools. Let me explain the statistic here. The green dots on the left are the 2021 participation looking at the elementary school students, and then the likelihood or the extent to which those students, for example, Wolcott, opted into taking computer science when they went to the high school. And in order to be a dot, the student just needed to take 1 computer science course. We weren't worried about a half year, full year, etc. The reason this is so compelling when you look from 2021 to 2023 is, do you see how every elementary school has gain? In some cases, tremendous gain. That's amazing. And in case you thought, well, maybe it's a COVID thing, or maybe it's, nothing special, look at the not in district. You see what I'm saying? Hardly any gain, a 3% gain. So that means we're doing something special in West Hartford. And when I was here maybe 3 years ago now, I said to the board, and I remember saying it, if any district can do this, we can do it. We're starting to do it, and it's super. I just wanted to show you this data because I'm really excited about this. Next, so sort of continuing up the journey, now we're talking a little bit about participation. So here we're looking at why do students opt into computer science courses? And the drop-down shows that based on, it's not the same for every student demographic. Universally, I hope you can see the difference that our presentations to our math classes are making, school counselor conversations. Our growth in West Hartford, it's not accidental, it's purposeful. It's people, again, rowing oars together, realizing that if we're not welcoming students in, helping them to feel safe, helping them to feel like this is for them, then they may not opt in. And more we're seeing, participation and the difference that's making for students. Continuing the participation journey, you can see here on that although the message is, good, growth, but there is still some work to be done. In terms of representation across computer science courses, we're pretty on par for many demographics. Our most underrepresented population is our female population. That's true across the nation. We're not unique in that way, but I want to be unique in that way. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, okay. Now the other demographics, if we were to look instead at our AP representation, it would not look as good for some of our underrepresented students. So I want to, truth in numbers. We can always tell stories with this data. I want to make sure that that's clear as well. And then you can see, at least 1 computer science course versus 2 or more computer science courses. Again, there's growth, but there's still room for participation. I want those to be 100%. All students opting into taking computer science because it's part of them just being an educated citizen in our world today. Yeah.
Jackie, just before you go
Yeah.
on to the CS team, I think this CAPE data was collected in 21,
And 20,
in
yeah.
23, and
Yeah.
it's going to be collected again in 26. And this data, which is it's a survey that Jackie gives out to teachers and students, that we are able to then analyze this data to see where are our gaps, where are our strengths, where are our needs. And so the whole program and the future of the program will be based on the information that we're getting. And we're getting very valuable insights from this data. What elementary schools are sending the most children who are opting into computer science, how kids are hearing about the classes, what's making the biggest difference. And there's many more questions on this survey than Jackie even shared with you just for purposes of the presentation. But one of the ones I also found really interesting is, how do you feel once you're there? You feel like you belong in the class. And so there's, I don't know how many total questions are on the survey, but Jackie collects a great deal of information. It forms the basis of what we're doing currently and then in the future, as well as she's sharing it with the staff, which gets them more excited to possibly take the praxis test to be certified or just learn more about how do I contribute to this effort. So with that, I'll turn it back to Jackie to talk with the district computer science leadership team.
Okay, so actually we have a member of the district computer science leadership team with us right now. The district computer science leadership team has done a lot of work over this past year, well, actually over 2 years, and it's very hard because it's right there and you can read it, but I can't.
Do you want to stand here?
Maybe it'd be a little easier. Yeah, thank you. I memorized the other ones, but not this one so much. So we are, as far as our accomplishments, you can see we have a vision statement that sort of that started our work off, and then we developed. Zach and I developed a pathway document together. That was really fun and a lot of work. That pathway document sort of frames what computer science could look like in the future for us, pre-K to 12. We have a partnership as part of those framings with Farmington and Glastonbury. We together got training and then formed together, each of us, our vision statement and our pathway documents and similar sorts of things. And then we hold each other accountable with yearly meetings. We have our course marketing, which is our decision maker and video, expanded membership, and I'm going to drill down on some of these, but our future intention is a CIT, continued course marketing, support for existing computer science experiences, video to help teachers prepare for the praxis, working to align to new computer science standards, which are coming out in 2026. I'm very honored to say that I am the chair of the high school computer science standards team. So we're working really hard to write these national and international standards right now. So you're in the house. And we're working, again, the teacher-facing website, which is, again, for the future. So first off, the vision statement, I'll leave it up here so you can read it. I'll highlight especially the last line. We view computer science as essential for all students, and equity is a vital component of our vision. Coming up with a solid vision statement is harder than it looks. So we're really proud of that. Secondly, the pathway document, and I assume they'll be able to see these slides. So everything is a live link as well. This is a little sample. It's sort of the beginning of what will eventually become a website. You click on one of those, like the kindergarten, and it sort of drills down into the kindergarten and shows you what, like a key question. Zach, props to him. He helped me to be able to frame it in a way that was really friendly. And so, yeah, that was a team effort. Course marketing. So this is our website that our high school students go to decide which computer science is their happy place for the following year. And then in terms of courses, you might have heard we have a couple. There's 9. Many schools struggle to have 1 or 2. AP Cybersecurity 1, we're a pilot school for that. Next year, Hall will be the first, among the first in the country to be teaching that course.
And I want to interject here, if I may. I can remember a couple of years ago, there was a district, which won't be named, which outside of West Hartford, that made like the public comment, like, we have the most computer science courses in the state. And they were including in their count, courses like keyboarding, Microsoft Word. I am so proud of the work that's been undertaken by our computer science team to offer rigorous, relevant, really meaningful computer science courses. And without a doubt, I feel that we are a leader in this space, certainly at the state level, and our goal is to remain a leader nationally. So I just want to reinforce that.
Thank you. Programming in Python is also relatively new. It's a Yukon ECE course, so it's a half-year course that students can earn Yukon credit with. So some people might think that computer science is only taught in one department in our schools. As such, it probably meets only one graduation requirement. That is not true. We actually teach it in West Hartford across 3 different departments: CTE, math, and social studies. And teachers are from any one of those 3 departments right now. Some people might think in terms of this computer science thing that we're on our own. As such, we need to train and create everything from scratch. That's also not true. We have some amazing partnerships. ESEP stands for Expanding Computing Education Pathways. They're a national research think tank that has been doing a lot of work with, for example, landscape studies. They're mostly state level things. I've been a member of that team for a couple of years now, where we've just finished a CS Summit here in the state to be able to set up our new plan going forward for the state of computer science in the state. CSTA stands for the Computer Science Teachers Association. They're a group of voluntary teachers. I'm the treasurer for the group here in Connecticut. We're a nice group of, many of us tend to be islands in our schools. Not true for me anymore, but once upon a time that was true. And so we work together to be able to make computer science more accessible for students across the state and country. And actually, we have an international presence too. And then the College Board, of course, is responsible for AP courses, and I've received a ton of training in terms of leadership. I'm a consultant for APCS principals for the College Board, and also a member of their development committee for APCS principals as well. So we've got great partnerships really across the country. Some people might think we haven't started integrating yet, but we will soon. And I'm going to hand it over to Zach Vos for this.
Thank you. Thanks, Jackie. So I just want to start with shout out to Jackie just for, I'm also a parent here in West Hartford. My daughter goes to Brayburn, and it's really an honor to know that you're leading the charge, and something I hope she'll get a benefit of, including all of our kids here. So I'm here to talk about some of the integration happening in our elementary schools. So when we talk about elementary school integration, it's easy to think that this is some sort of eventual thing that'll always be that shiny object far away that's making its way down towards us, or that it's something that if we are going to integrate, it's going to be in the world of enrichment, or it's going to be as an extracurricular. But I'm very pleased to come here today to share with you all that we've actually been making incredible progress, and the integration is happening now. So this past year, every student in all grades at Smith STEM School has experienced at least one, but for most kids, many, computer programming lessons that were integrated into existing classroom instruction. So, thank you, yes. So we have had, and this is on top of the integration that's already happening across our district for a few years now in library media, where our library media specialists, led by the curriculum leads there, have been doing a tremendous amount of work to get computer science and computer programming education into elementary school classrooms. So at Smith, we have been focused on purposeful integration into our classrooms to really take computer science from being an add-on to being something that students experience and have access to on a daily basis. So that has meant finding ways to frame computer programming and design lessons that are an additive tool that strengthens learning in science, ELA, social studies, writing, and math. The programming tasks that we introduced are designed to be very discrete, focused, curriculum-connected exercises for kids to engage with. And Jackie has just been an absolute, I do not have a tech background. I'm approaching 20 years in education. I've worked as a classroom teacher and a school administrator and coach. And so what I bring to this partnership really, I think, is just, I was an old school paper and pencil, printed copy of the book kind of teacher. It took me a long time to start to adopt new technology. So in that respect, I also get to experience the journey that I think a lot of our teachers are going to go on, and this is not. And many of our teachers are quite immersed in the world of technology, but for me, it's been a journey. It's been a really exciting one, and so part of what that process is involved in the work at Smith is selecting the right tools and platforms for kids to use in using computer programming in the classroom. So we've really focused on tools that are safe. In light of our budget discussions, that are also free, and that support student problem solving and creativity. So the comparison I've been making as we've worked on this is that these platforms that we use are a lot like a digital version of a blank notebook paper or whiteboard, in that the programming platforms we're using really provide students with a blank canvas to communicate and solve problems in their classrooms. We've intentionally avoided any platforms that rely on gamification, extrinsic rewards, commercial incentives, or cater to the lowest common denominators. We have really sought after platforms that just create a nice, safe, focused environment for students to work in. To get there, we've had some really excellent partnerships with the team at Smith. So many students at Smith have a history of work with computer science through magnet-aligned enrichment experiences, as well as our existing library media studies curriculum. And the people who've been leading that in the past and currently are named here as the building leaders. So I want to just take a minute and recognize them. And so one of the great things about this is the climate and enthusiasm among both students and families at Smith is really excellent, and just created a great place to start developing a more formalized pathway for students to pursue computer programming in their regular classrooms. So for that, we've worked with Smith's lab specialist teacher, Courtney Stengel, to begin incorporating and integrating computer programming tasks that align with both science and core ELA and math curriculum. These early lessons are also helping Jackie and I and other folks involved in designing these lessons hone in on instructional design and professional development tools that support teachers in making quick progress up the learning curve and to begin developing tasks on their own. There have been so now I just want to share briefly some of the very encouraging and positive outcomes that we've observed at Smith. So the lessons have been very, very high in terms of student engagement. So we talked, Jackie talked a minute ago about participation. These lessons are just an absolutely joyful, fun, and engaging time, even during multi-step rigorous tasks that have a really high rate maybe of initial failure, where kids need to persevere through difficulty. The engagement is tremendously high. We see a ton of authentic collaboration among peers in these lessons. The technology really works as a bridge rather than a barrier. So, and I shared earlier, I'm a parent in the district, and I think like many parents, I'm dubious about things that might increase screen time. And I'm happy to share that this is actually the kind of screen time where kids are spending more time engaging with one another than they are with headphones. We don't allow headphones in these lessons because we want students to be focused on collaboration and problem solving and connected to the people around them. So just the opportunities for kids to collaborate, talk, celebrate one another's success are tremendous as they work through problems and much more. And that has been a huge, huge asset. Finally, equity has always been a very important part of my work as an educator. And the equity implications for computer science, we've spoken to somewhat already, but I just want to share a few examples of what we've noticed in the classroom in terms of the equity implications. First off, the programming tasks integrated into lessons are less dependent on language proficiency than traditional classroom activities. And this, in turn, we found has given our multilingual learners a very significant opportunity to shine and take on leadership roles in the classroom. The programming tasks with the way we're working to design them, can easily be differentiated to accommodate a wide range of skills, allowing a broad range of students to have multiple entry points to access the programming tasks. And there's limitless opportunities for adding new layers of challenge and complexity for kids who are excelling. A common issue you would encounter in the classroom is, I'm done, I'm finished. That doesn't happen in these lessons because there's always a way you can say, try it this way, or try to add that, or can you make this upside down? There's just so many different ways to toss something to students to increase the rigor, increase the complexity, let alone invite them to come and be leaders and help their peers. The programming tasks, computer programming really values a diverse set of strengths. So students who excel in careful, methodical thinking, who've developed some resilience, but may not always be the first ones done in traditional classroom tasks, have really stood out because programming really depends on your ability to break a task down and work methodically. And we've seen this is another opportunity for kids who don't always get to stand out in the classroom to shine through coding problems. And I know we've spoken to this already, but I just want to share how inspiring it is when you're watching a student just jump for joy when they've finally figured out how to program something correctly. And what it means as you watch that student, especially at a young age, and you think about what this is doing for their sense of self. And the affirming moment that I hope they're having, and I feel fairly confident they're having, where they're doing something in a space that they can now say, I belong here, and I can be good at this. And I think we all can agree on why that's so important of a mindset to develop as young as possible with kids. So looking ahead, next year, we've already launched this with the Smith team, but we plan to formalize integration across all grades at Smith to really begin working with the team there in a feedback loop that I'm very excited to continue collaborating with them on to start to model a K-5 CS instructional program that supports this engagement, collaboration, and enhancement to our current curriculum for then future sharing with the other elementary schools in our district. And so I'm going to hand it back to Jackie, but thank you guys for letting me share this with you all.
Thank you so much. So another example of integration that's happening right now is a course called Human Behavior in a Digital World. This is a social studies course that was created to integrate computer science and social studies at the same time. It's a half-year course, and that's currently being offered at both Hall and Conard. This is you.
We're going to switch over for a second because what we have worked on most recently is the way artificial intelligence is coming at all of us so quickly. And we wanted to, again, use a similar model, get a team together, and look at the challenges we have ahead of us and start to get ready for those challenges. Because as we know, I think someone said recently, ChatGPT is about 2 years old already, and the adoption rate is just faster than almost any other technology, it's just hard to believe when we know how fast other things have been adopted. So as I turn it over to Jackie, right as I do, I'm going to give you an old school handout that will show some of our work. Okay.
Yeah, AI will never be as bad as it is right now. Think about that. Right? Yeah. Okay. All right, so give a moment for that to go around. I know I can only do one thing at a time. Great. And I'll explain to you what you have soon. But again, from the team perspective, we've got a couple team members here. And our accomplishments, we started very similarly, developing a statement to sort of frame our work. District-wide PD that was run on Election Day 2024. That was an introduction, kind of a teaser of things to come. Guidance documents for classrooms. That's what you have in front of you. More on that soon. And then this past spring, we ran 2 different dinner and learn events, thanks to Anne's leadership and all of the wonderful people here in the system who attended on their own time in the evenings for dinner and a little pizza and some time with Matt Mervis, who is a leader from Ed Advance in this space. One thing is true with AI and computer science, you're always learning. And then in the future, we intend to create some faculty meeting videos, that's June, to introduce these guiding documents. Election Day PD is planned for 2025. We have a brand new student AI team involving 8 students from Conard and 8 students from Hall because they know a lot more than we do. And then ongoing professional development and then a teacher-facing website. So I'm going to do a lot of web development this summer. This is our district statement. Again, I'll pause. Please.
When we convened the first district AI team, the first thing we thought it was most important to do was just to acknowledge that AI is here, that it is something that we need to use responsibly, and a lot of people are thinking, do we just prohibit it because it has some ethical considerations, or do we let it in and deal with them? And so after looking at all the guidance we could find, we thought it was important to say that it has transformative potential and that we are embracing it, but with ethical use and training. So that was the first thing we did. And after we made the statement, we made sure to get it in all of our handbooks so the teachers know, okay, I can use this. It is allowed. And now this year we've gone much further to create the guidelines that will help teachers to use it responsibly. And I'm very proud of all of the team's work, Jackie's work, especially getting the student voice in here, because they're using it as much or more than the adults are, so they are understanding and seeing both the potential and the problem.
And again, we're here just telling other people's stories. Each of these teams, all of these teams, there's so many people that have worked so hard to be able to create these documents. So I'm just happy to share. The classroom AI guidelines, those are in front of you. Give you a moment to kind of process those. These 2 documents sort of go hand in hand. So there's this one and there's this one. So the classroom AI guidelines sort of set up some boundaries for what we would expect student roles, teacher roles, and admin roles. And then the AI assessment scale goes alongside it because it gives teachers an opportunity to say, hey, this is a level 2 assignment, or perhaps it's a level 1 assignment. There's no AI at all. These were not, we adopted existing documents to make them work for us. You can see that we gave credit at the bottom. This is Leon Fursey's AI assessment scale that we adopted, and then this was adopted a bit from a school in Missouri. But we made it work for us and through many, many iterations and a lot of teamwork. So I'll give you a moment to just digest those. I remember every bullet and the reason why each one is there. So, okay. And so, yeah, at this point, I'll kind of pause for questions.
My, oh my, boy, wonderful presentation. Teammates, questions, comments regarding the wealth of information we've received. Yes, LaToya.
I just have a comment. I'm so happy that we're on the AI and we're welcoming it and embracing it. I've been with ChatGPT from day one. I'm a ChatGPT ride or die. And I strongly believe that we have to embrace these new practices. And I'm just so excited. Like, I feel like it can, at least in my experience, I feel like as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's a deep researcher, as someone who always has to write reports for clients, as someone who sometimes has spicy emails that I need to kind of bounce back with. And then just so many other things too. Teaching me concepts from back in the day. Like I've gone to ChatGPT and been like, hey, I remember taking this statistics class in college, but there was this concept I didn't really get. Like, could you break it down for me? And so, and I've really guided my child too, who is in our district, on how to use it in those ways to be a thought partner. And I think it can just enhance everything that we're doing. So I love that we're taking the stance of not being afraid of it, but being responsible with it because it is here. There's going to be a ton of career opportunities for our kids, and I think about it in in terms of like being asked if you speak another language, that I do feel like that's how it's going to be with AI. Like, are you efficient? And that's going to be a job requirement. And so, once again, West Hartford is ahead of the game on this, and I really appreciate you all and your team for the really thoughtful, intentional work that's being put into this. And I'm pumped. I was like, yes, we're with the times. Like, we don't have to hide from this. So it's awesome. And then I think the other thing I want to say too around the computer science stuff, please let us know what we can do as board members, whether it's in community or talking to parents around building some of that just will to want to get our students engaged with that, especially our girls. There's a big gap there in the career force too, with girls and with women in technology, and I think there is a lift that our community can take too, in providing some of those opportunities and maybe partnering with the district. So please, if anything comes up, or there are any ways in which we can support expanding this, just let us know.
I love your energy. Thank you. Yeah.
Jason and then Claire.
So I might piggyback a little bit off of what LaToya was saying, is how do we as a district, since we are, rightly proud of this, and it sounds like we're on the forefront, not just in the state, but nationwide, how are we, advertising is probably not the right word, but how are we advertising this? How are we marketing this?
Well, are you speaking?
Computer science or?
Computer science or AI?
I mean, this presentation, where you show those 9 courses or more than 9 courses that we have, how do we, put that out there in West Hartford and really tout this?
Well, there's a number of ways. One of the ways, we're very fortunate, Jackie is a leader in the field. We're very fortunate to have her in the district, and she's very connected at the state level and with national organizations. And I think that's one of the ways we're getting our name out there. I think we've been able to pilot a few AP courses. Maybe it's because Jackie has promoted our district, but just even this year, seeing the cybersecurity program, Jackie came to me and said, we need this. And then we looked. It's hard to add a new course in declining enrollment or static enrollments. Adding a new course can be challenging. So we went back and forth to decide, what's the best way forward. So I think one of the ways we get our name out there is because we allow our people to go to special things that will help them grow professionally and will help connect us. We also try very hard, let's say in the AI space, we found a leader in the state, Matt Mervis, who works at EdAdvance. We were thrilled at his approach because his presentation style is just warm, engaging, makes you feel like you're right there with him and part of it. And I think we were a little aggressive and said, can we book you for these things? And can we bring you in for dinners and talking to our staff? And can you come to our PDs? And can we pick your brain? And so I think we've been focused. And I think we provide our folks with opportunities to go to those outside events and promote what we're doing. And then some of it comes in the numbers themselves. For instance, our ACE participation is very high, and if we look at just in our computer science classes, we can do that. Our AP participation is extremely high, and again, I think we have 3 now AP. We'll have 3 AP classes next year in computer science and 2 ECs, 1 ECE, 1 ECE. I don't know if you want to add to that.
Just that I feel very grateful. The district supports me to be able to present and take our story nationally. So, for example, this summer I'll be presenting at CSTA 4 different sessions. I'll be presenting at AP Annual Conference. I was a leader for the summit here in Connecticut, and I will be again in the fall. So it's that increased visibility, making sure that, and very frequently people will reach out to me and ask if, could they come and observe and just pick my brain? And to me, that's not, I see it as a partnership then, right? So then we become a partner with them, they become a partner with us, and we grow together. I think that is powerful advertisement, right? Powerful networking within, and computer science is such a small world that we kind of stick together. West Hartford has a wonderful reputation across the country as being a leader in this space, and yeah, I think I'm answering your question. Yes.
I would
Now,
add-
how do we use it? I think that's a question for all of us, right? Yeah.
One other note is, and Jackie's been really important in this work, when we bring a CS team together or an AI team together, she's always thinking of the members of those teams. So she'll say, what's a small bonus we can give them for coming to this after-school meeting or giving up some of their time to come to this meeting. So she'll advocate for them to attend a Connecticut CSTA conference or a New England computer science conference, but that will spark them because they'll learn there, they'll connect there, and that will not only spark their interest, but get our name out there as well because they'll see a couple West Hartford people.
We've also sent a fair number of students from West Hartford onto places like Amazon, Google, and that's pretty good advertisement too. Yeah.
I want to just interject, piggyback a couple of things. I'm extremely proud of the work of the district and the team, and certainly Jackie. We were involved with the national pilot for AP Computer Science Principles when that first came on board 5 years ago.
More than that. 2017.
Wow.
There were only 40 districts at the time doing it. Yeah.
I mean, our name is out there, as was stated with UConn, but it's also, we lean forward, and this board has leaned forward in the past when we first talked about and recognized the importance. I mean, computer science has been one of those things that's been named as kind of a game-changing thing that the next fundamental skill that students need to know and have in order to be successful in their adult lives, just based on the nature of algorithmic thinking and data science and all of these things, and how the the business world, the career world I would say tomorrow, but really of today, has progressed, and the need for this to become a foundational kind of a literacy for students. The board that time, invested when I was assistant superintendent. We talked about bringing on curriculum specialists for computer science because this is a topic we're not trying to silo it in a department in the way that when I went to college there was a whole separate computer science department, and feedback. I can remember hearing from graduates who would come and at the time it was Tom Moore. He'd be talking with them, and that was the thing that they said. We needed more and better integration because when they're going into college, some of these skills are integrated across multiple disciplines and across multiple fields. And that was the impetus when we first started to say, we need to become a leader in this space. We need to invest in an infrastructure for West Hartford. We need to develop programming, and we need to have a vision for it. And I hope that's kind of what the team is really bringing you here today.
So thank you so much for the presentation. I love the enthusiasm, and just from a standpoint of presenting, it just was very engaging, easy to understand, and that's probably the biggest entry point and plus you can have in this kind of technology. I have some very quick questions. Are all classes offered at both high schools?
Yes.
And are you having trouble finding?
Except for AP cybersecurity next year because it's a pilot at Hall to start. Yeah.
Exactly. And are you able to find faculty to teach these courses?
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes that is a challenge, though,
Right.
because electives, they are largely electives, so sometimes
You need capacity.
Well, you need capacity, but you also need, students have to choose the classes, so.
Right.
And there's so many good classes to teach, to be honest, that we We are able to teach them, but it can be, there's a lot of good things to offer our kids, and we want to offer them as many of the great courses as possible. So, for instance, in the CTE field, Career Technical Education, there's many good courses to offer over there. And Jackie works with that team because they teach some computer science classes, but they might teach woodworking or woodworking and manufacturing, which we also value. So sometimes we just have to continue to see where the children's interests are going to make sure we're offering the right combination of courses.
Teaching computer science is, right now, it is the wild, wild west still. Right, there's no, right now in Connecticut, there's an endorsement, there's no certification.
Right.
So teachers have to be certified in a different area and then get endorsed to teach computer science. There is not yet a requirement for that, but there's a strong recommendation, from the state. So we're a little bit of an uncharted territory, and so there is just like there's a fear factor for some of our students, for sure, because there is no formal training, there's a little bit of a fear factor for teachers as well. My background's a little weird. I had 3 years at Raytheon as a systems engineer in Java, C++, which is close enough to Java, so I was able to cross over. But you need someone with that kind of background to start the ball rolling, and then it becomes sort of contagious, and because it's so fun. But you're not wrong. Finding computer science teachers is not an easy thing. Yeah.
Right. The reputation and the marketing could help.
Yep.
Can we get a copy of this presentation? I would love to see the drill down in why people choose, and then that amazing data you show of the elementary jump. I'm very interested in seeing what that in the next survey you do, because with that jump in the one measurement, in a year from now, I think it's going to be huge.
Me too.
The other thing is just like when computers first came into schools, it was your computer class, your library, you'd have some computer time. But now it's like a tool. It's a way you get your job done. And so I can see AI being like that. You don't need an AI course because AI is going to be filtered in almost everything. But how do you launch AI? What is the way that it's launched to the kids? Because they're not going to an AI course. Who is the teacher? Who is the class within Conard or Hall or the middle schools that would first talk to the kids about AI or these documents?
Well, I think my first reaction to what you're saying is the students are well ahead of us on AI, so they don't necessarily need a course. They need to know how to use it within their courses, what's applicable in that lesson. So what we're trying to do is to train the teacher. Well, first of all, I'll start with, we have opened, we checked with our technology team, Jared Morin, and we have opened Google Gemini to all of the children, age appropriate and over. I think it's 14. 14 and over all have Google Gemini on their Chromebooks now. And for all the adults, we have Notebook LM, which is another AI tool that we're using, and that would be an adult tool. So we're opening the tools to the students because they are using them. What we need to teach them is responsible ethical use, and then to follow the guidance that the teacher is giving. The teacher may have a very specific purpose for saying, I do not want to use it other than brainstorming. Or the teacher might say, I do want you to use it as a partner. Or the teacher might say, I want you to create completely new ideas and go wild with that. But the teachers right now are trying to think about the assignments they normally have given in the past and how to keep them relevant and appropriate for today's day and age. So they need some of these guidance documents to help them figure out how to change their assignments, adapt their assignments, because the students are on ChatGPT, and we have 2 students here now, so I mean they can speak better than I can. What kinds of tools do you guys use when you're using? Don't worry, we won't tell your teachers you're doing anything wrong. But
see, that's that guilt factor. See, until I'll let you, and then go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, when I was reading this like scale, I feel like a lot of the times I'm using it in like the AI planning. Like I think for research, ideal development, that's something that's been really helpful for me, and I've used that in like different classes. You can find like research sources, you can find like different, it can help with like making essay outlines. That's what I've heard from other students. I have not really heard of anyone putting something into AI, like get directly spitting it out, turning it in and getting away with it. So I don't know.
Right. But that is a real fear that teachers have, and it's legitimate. So we want to give everyone a common language to talk from. And we think this document that we've adopted from FERSI will help our teachers all have a common language on how to speak about assignments, what kind of an assignment it is, can you use AI and can you not? And we also want to help our teachers to understand what we're going to call, well, not that we've made this term, the term durable assignments. They may still want to see students' genuine thinking and genuine work besides any tools. And so we're going to help them identify what are the ways you can still see the students' kind of original thinking. And that is the creation of what we call durable assignments where, I hate to say it might be old school, but you might be involved in a debate of teammate versus teammate. You might have some notes and whether you were able to generate them or not, but you'll still be required to engage in that thought process and that dialogue instantaneously, panel discussions, debates, even oral examinations at times, or old school writing sometimes. So we need to help teachers because they've become, so many of their assignments they've been doing a certain way, and now they're easy to perhaps, if a child wanted to, use AI and complete the assignment. So we need to train the teachers how to have a combination of durable assignments and assignments that use this scale, because we want to take the guilt factor away from the students and give them clear guidance on, you can and should use it for this. This would not be the time to use it. How does that sound to you as students? Well, why does that sound better?
Well, I think like right now a lot of students are trying to steer away from using it because they feel like, oh, we're going to get caught using it, like we're using it for bad reasons. But like for me, when I've used it, I kind of use it just to like re-explain things better. Like it's really nice how versatile ChatGPT or like any type of AI is, because like I can plug in like explain this to me, but like it's a reality show that I've watched before, and it comes out with this beautiful explanation that I actually understand. And like I would never tell my teacher that because I feel like bad about doing something like that. But I think with this type of idea, it would definitely like encourage a more responsible use and everything.
Well, what we've heard is that you need to have clear guidance for your students, and you need to be transparent and clear, and give them and have everyone kind of use the same guidelines, and that will help everyone not feel guilty or feel like they're doing something wrong. And then when they have an assignment, they'll know to what extent can I use this. So that was the whole effort there. So after we made our statement that it's okay to use, we went deeper into the guidance, and we produced, Jackie did a great deal of work on this. We produced these documents, and then we'll go further with our training for teachers, because there's a lot of great teacher tools to help them save some time. And then there's things we want them to know and, not to know too, because there's ethical use for the teachers as well.
Last comment. So years ago at Duffy, we offered parents an evening where they could come in and understand how folders worked on a hard drive, and how to open a Word doc, and how to name a file and make sure it's saved in the right place. I would love to see an opportunity where we offer some parents a little crash session or something, because I think there's a lot of people who just don't understand. And so, a lot of times when computers came out, the kids got so far ahead of the parents in just learning how to use the internet and all that. And now we're further along, but now AI has changed it again. And I think it would be really helpful for some parents. I think you would have a big turnout.
That's a
I think
good
you'd
idea.
need the big hall, but I think people would be very interested.
That's a great idea. We had the evening sessions with, we bought some pizza and invited teachers in because it was on their own time. and we had an AI expert, and, we could do that also possibly with parents if they are interested in learning it. I mean, I think that it would help us get our our position to parents. It would help us communicate this kind of information to our parents. So our parents are clear, the students are clear, and hopefully the teachers are as well.
And just one last thing I wanted to throw out. Jackie, in all your travels and all your presentations, is the district or is the board supporting and reimbursing for travel and all that kind of stuff?
That's such a kind question. Most of the time, they pay for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when we do spread the word and when we do
Thank
send
you.
children, there's always an equity issue too, and individual teachers spend a lot.
Thank you.
And as well as students. All students should be able to go to present, and the financial part shouldn't be. So I really, when someone's such a spokesperson, you need to track that and let us know if you need.
Thank you. I want to
coverage.
clarify what I said. What I meant by that is most of the time they, meaning the people
other
that
people.
flew me out there or whatever, wanted me to do the thing, paid for me to go. But any time that I have a difference in that, they've been extremely kind
Great.
and wonderful about, and as you know, that's why West Hartford is out there. I want to make sure that people know how good it is here. All right. So it's not just about computer science, but this is an amazing place to work. Yeah. Yeah, and then related to the idea of a family AI night, I love that idea. And then shout out to my AP CSA students who are taking their AP exam tomorrow. We used AI just today in our studying where they're getting ready for their FRQs. I found a pretty cool site that had a nice feature where they could type in their FRQ is free response questions, so they could type in their code response, and it would tell them how they did probably based on their AP exam. So imagine that as an AP teacher. It just tells you right away, boop, 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 this is your score. I didn't have to do any of it. It sort of told them. So that's awesome, and they could keep learning from that. Yeah.
Can I share? I wanted to speak quickly to the family engagement piece because bringing families in for seeing what students are working on in the classroom has always been a pretty important part of, I think, of a vision for strong instruction to begin with. So just it's happening. We did this at Smith. We had a teach my parent to code, or teach my grown up to code, and we had 18 students in an after-school program. I think it was about a dozen families were able to make it, and it was students teaching their grown-ups, their older siblings, grandparents, really adorable photos from that day. And it was, to your point, and to just kind of emphasize, I think that this is, it's very purposeful, it's very meaningful, it's also just cool. And so kids to have the opportunity to teach their grown-ups was, I think, a big part of that empowerment piece. And also, gets families talking about it, because the great thing about the platforms we're using is kids can bring their work home with them. They can share, hey, here's something I made in school today. Can I show you how it works? Can I show you the problem it solves? And then families can talk about it and they can share with other, there's just, it really does invite a lot of opportunities for community building. And that's a big part of our task for Smith next year, is to think about ways to increase that.
Before the next question, hearing these wonderful pieces, being reminded of AP exams, want to remind our lovely students, if you do need to depart, please, we encourage that you are students first and foremost. So please feel free to step aside if you need to. Pardon, thank you, certainly. Ethan.
So I have two questions unrelated. The first one was, in the presentation, you mentioned the 2025 election and 24 election. I don't understand, how did that relate?
The what?
Election day is just
Oh,
days we have
okay.
professional development.
I thought you were doing something with AI.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, we are doing something with AI on those days for our teachers.
I thought it had to
be
do with
able
the election and the,
No, it's just.
I couldn't figure it, I'm
Oh,
good.
okay. Sorry. Okay, no. Yeah, no.
we're
Yeah,
good,
it wasn't
we're
a
good.
political statement.
So,
Yeah.
To follow up on what Claire had, when I looked at the presentation, the one that I thought, geez, I'd like to take would be the cybersecurity. Me too. Yeah, But my question was, and it sort of builds on what she had, is it possible to have something on cybersecurity, not just for parents or, but for the community in general? Because I think that is a relevant issue. I mean, it's incredible to me the amount of emails I get that are obviously bogus. I mean, I get more DocuSigns than I can count. I mean, to the point where unless I hear from a bank or something, I will not sign it, or I won't even open it.
I mean, I think that's a thought for, and as we launch that cybersecurity class next year, that maybe that's something we talk to, see how it goes with the kids, but that's a thought too, information parents would like to have.
Well, the
We
community in
certainly, I'm
general.
getting the toll ones myself, you haven't paid your toll? Got that
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Don't click on it.
It's interesting to look at the area code, a lot of them for Romania.
Yeah, I know, they're from everywhere, but I think you're giving us good ideas of other ways to spread the word to parents and other stakeholders in our community.
Yeah, no, I just think it'd be so valuable. Frankly, I'm sorry I can't take the course.
Yeah,
Trying to
there's
figure out how to
actually a
take the course.
cybersecurity 2 course that we'll be looking into as well. There's a second part of that one, but we need to get through the first one first.
Well, we have a cybersecurity department in my company, but it's amazing the things that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, if you could think about it that would be great.
I wanted to just kind of circle back to one of the things that one of the students said about going to ChatGPT and being like, hey, can you talk to me like, a reality TV star? It was one of the things that I really like about it too, and kind of draws to this larger issue around the fact that we have a lot of different students that represent different cultural backgrounds. And while we've made a lot of progress, like we're still not in a space where every single lesson that is taught in a way that's going to reach every single student. And so I think that's a great way, and I'm saying that publicly here because I think it's a great way to respond to some of those fears, that this increases inclusion and belonging, and creates that pathway for students while we're trying to get there, right? And another thing I wanted to say too is 2 things. One is that it's really important for teachers to become efficient in this, like just on your own as an educator, and as an educator, when these tools come out, like it's like you gotta jump on it or you're gonna get run over by it. Because when you are efficient in it, you can tell when someone's has not used their original ideas and they've just copied and pasted something from ChatGPT. But it does take you being a user of the platform to be able to see that. One of the biggest and easiest tells is if something has a bunch of dashes through it. Like that's like a number 1 tell. Like if somebody copy and paste something and it has dashes all through it, ChatGPT probably authored that whole thing. The other thing is you can see the lack of originality, right? ChatGPT is going to give you a general thought taken from a bunch of different thoughts and information out there. And so knowing your students personally, I think that's a big thing. I can always tell when people are ChatGPTing stuff to me, like, and I'll call them on it. I'm like, you just ChatGPT that, didn't you? And they're like, how'd you know? And I'm like, because I use the platform. And so I think that's another good way to respond to some of those fears around why we want to be efficient users so that we can be ahead of the game when that happens, right? Just like we've always been able to catch plagiarism. Teachers have always been able to find it, but in order to be a teacher, like you gotta be a learner first. And then the last thing I wanted to share, when I was thinking about some of those demographics up there, I know the CIO of MassDOT. He's a Black man. My father is an IT leader here in the state. My youngest brother is an IT leader and does cybersecurity in Silicon Valley. All 3 of them are Black men in my life who have expressed a desire and a passion to want to talk to other young Black men around getting involved in IT and computer sciences. And my youngest brother, who's in Silicon Valley, like, we could Zoom him in, but the other 2, my father's right here in Connecticut. The CIO of MassDOT is one of my lifelong best friends. He comes to Connecticut often, and I'm just throwing them out there because as I see those demographics and who we're not reaching, I think sometimes it's a matter of that right? When the black boys have black men in front of them, and then they also have varying levels of education. My friend who's a CIO has his master's. My youngest brother has his associates. My father just has some certifications. All three of them make six figures. And so those are some things that we want to like point out and lift up to the community too. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And also, you can hit me up on the side if you want their information. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments regarding this wonderful presentation and information shared? All right. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have to say, as I shared earlier, I remember you presenting several years ago and was so impressed by you then and the whole team collectively and continue to be impressed. Thank you so much for impressing upon all of us the importance of this. I will confess, I am rather archaic with this. So the idea of learning, I'm like, oh, brace myself. My daughters, oh my goodness, they're on it. So thank you for helping to build the confidence in them to go this route. And I'll be in the lesson with Ethan, the tutorial.
I will give y'all tutorials.
All right, all right. But thank you so very much again for all of what you're doing. Thank you. And as we continue on to routine matters, we have approval of the minutes. Seeking a motion that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of April the 1st, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jason. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Latoya. Discussion. Suggested edits? Seeing none, all of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? The ayes have it. Moving on to information and reports. Board members, do we have any communications and reports from other boards and organizations? Seeing none, any other information and discussions? I want to echo what our student representative spoke of this, and you did as well, Mr. Vicenius. Again, all of the pieces that we are recognizing this month, and want to certainly promote all of them, and want to also uplift, again, Mental Health Awareness Month. However, again, that is something that we must be attuned to year-round. So please, certainly so. And one of the students reps spoke of that with the exams that are taking place. So we certainly want to encourage our students to be mindful of that. Moving on now to future business, announcement of future meeting dates. We're just down to 2 this academic year. Our next meeting is Tuesday, May the 20th, 2025 at 7 o'clock here in room 314, followed by Tuesday, June the 3rd, a regular Board of Education meeting, 7 o'clock here in room 314. Do we have a request for any future agenda items?
I thought we had talked about discussing finance subgroup or committee?
That was mentioned for a future agenda item, yes. And that is something to our policies committee, we're looking for that, but also in terms of agenda items. We have a robust schedule between now and the end of the year. And so recall, duly noted, for when, soon to come.
Okay.
All right. Any other suggested future agenda items? Seeing none, do we have any visitors that would like to make a comment? Seeing none, we do not have an executive session, therefore seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I love it how you all delay with that. Thank you, Ethan.
That's Ethan's motion.
Ethan, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Claire. Meeting adjourned.